So this video is here to explain what happens when you have the sun in the 10th house in your birth chart. So, what is the 10th house? The 10th house represents your career. It's a house that can also sort of represent and point some of the characteristics and traits of your father. This house is visual by Capricorn and Saturn. The 7th house, the 10th house also represents like your reputation or the impact that you make on the world. Because you're sort of basically known, known or judged based upon what is your profession, what is your means and source of income. You see, people will look at you differently if you say you are working at McDonald's versus if you're saying that you might work for you might work for Sony, or you might work for Tesla, or you saying that you're just some engineer, or you're just some successful entrepreneur. They're saying, wow, you know him? He's known for doing this. It sort of represents the impact that you make on the world. And sometimes your career, sometimes your job profession, your title or whatever can make a strong impact on the world. What else can I say? That's basically it. Planets in the 10th house, in where the 10th Lord is and what's aspect of the 10th Lord, can sort of give you some flavor, some insight on the type of profession that someone might pursue, or the type of profession that someone might be successful in. So let's look at the sun. The sun is a significator of our father. The sun is our soul, our ego, one of the major important things that represent our personality. The sun illuminates the qualities and traits of the house that it sits in. But since it's also this fiery ball, hot ball of fire, it sort of burns and damages the qualities and the significations of the house that it sits in. So, what happens when the sun goes into the 10th house? Well, first of all, this is a very strong position for the sun. The sun in the 10th house gains what is known as directional strength, also known as dig bala. When the sun, basically directional strength, it represents, it just means a position where a planet does very strongly at, where it just does very good at. Jupiter and Mercury, they gain directional strength in the 1st house, which makes sense. They both deal with intelligence, and the 1st house is connected to our head. Saturn, it gains directional strength in the 7th house. Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn likes working and dealing with other people. The moon is very strong and gains directional strength in the 4th house. And so does Venus. They gain directional strength in the 4th house. The 4th house is the private life. It deals with your possessions and all that stuff. And then the 10th house, the sun and Mars, they gain directional strength when they sit in the 10th house. The 10th house is like a throne. The 10th house is like a position of power. It's like sitting in the White House, and you're the president, and you just got all this power, and you just hit a button and you just fire off several nukes and stuff. That is sort of like what the 10th house is. At least that's really how the sun feels. The sun is this king. The sun is the patriarch of the family, the head of the household, and he's sitting on his throne. He's sitting in his position of power. So when the sun comes here, we see that someone here would be very strong-minded, very ambitious, very goal-oriented. Someone with sun in the 10th house, they would not want to work up under somebody, or if they do, they would rather be in a position of power. They would have to be like a supervisor or a manager or assistant manager or assistant supervisor or something. They would prefer to be in a position, a high-ranking position. These people probably don't really like being told what to do by other people and stuff. You know, they just very strong-minded and just goal-oriented and ambitious, and could just really just have this desire to go out and pursue their own bread, pursue their own means of income when the sun goes into the 10th house in their birth chart. We would see that maybe potentially their father or father-like figure could have been this person who was very strong-minded and goal-oriented and ambitious and whatnot. But that's essentially all you see when the sun goes into the 10th house. Someone here could just have a strong, hot personality, because you see, if you got your sun in the 10th house, then you was probably born around 12 p.m. You know, you was probably born like the end of 11 a.m. in between maybe like early 1 p.m. You was born when the sun was in the highest position, when the sun was at its hottest, high noon. So therefore, you just have this strong, fiery, hot personality that is probably not so open to listening and being receptive of other people, and you just want to be in this, I don't know. Like I said, I just keep repeating myself. Like I said, strong position of power. You desire independence, not maybe so receptive to listening and taking directions and orders from other people. But yeah, like I said, you could tell more about this sun based upon the sign it's in and what's aspecting it. I hope this gave you some insight and clarity on what to expect when you have sun in the 10th house in your birth chart. Thanks for watching.